The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is directed by Tom Gormican and stars Nicolas Cage, Pedro Pascal, and among others. And in this story, Nicolas Cage essentially plays himself, and he's essentially trying to get himself out of debt and trying to and he gets invited to a island that's run by Pedro Pascal, and he essentially gets into this plot that involves where the CIA is trying to get him to essentially uh, go after Pedro Pascal's character and everything, and it becomes pretty much a goofy kind of ride. It becomes a ride for him for not only trying to essentially do things that he's known for in his movies, but also to try to essentially reconcile not only himself with his family, but also trying to essentially appreciate more things in life that's going beyond just being an actor. Now, here's a little backstory. Now, this is a film that I've actually been interested for quite a while with because when I first heard the trailers to this, when I first started seeing the trailers to this movie coming out, it got me really interested because I've always been a long-time Nicolas Cage fan, and there's been a lot of movies I've seen that I can't get enough of the guy because no matter what movie he makes, it seems like he always puts a lot of 100% effort in every one of his movies, whether it's good or bad. And he's always made a lot of he's done several movies that I've really enjoyed growing up and had a whole lot of fun with, including The Rock, Face Off, Raised in Arizona, Bringing Out the Dead, and also some other other classics I enjoy like Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, and things like that. And so the guy just has so much talent with himself, and he has such a great way of putting himself into movies that he puts all of his crazy self in that really works, and also a lot of nuance to his performances as well for a lot of movies when it calls for drama, action, comedy, everything. And so this movie, with him pretty much playing himself, it got me interested because the last time I seen a movie like this that kind of did that approach, where you have an actor that's basically playing a fictionalized version of themselves, was when I watched that movie JCVD that had Jean-Claude Van Damme essentially playing himself. And in that movie, I think, really holds as my favorite performance from Jean-Claude Van Damme and showcases a lot of his talent that he can actually really act, And so with this movie, upon seeing it, I gotta say I had a really good time with this movie a lot. Like, this really makes me really glad to see Nicolas Cage is still getting theatrical films and get released here and there over time, especially since the last time I can think of that I seen a movie of his that I went to theaters with and seen, well, I'm going to be honest, was probably, I want to say maybe Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, and I'll be honest, I kind of find that movie as a guilty pleasure, so to this day, I still have fun with that one, despite all the issues it has. And so it makes you really appreciate that this movie is trying to essentially be a meta, call to action, a meta take of him as an actor in this. And to get my pros out of the way, Nicolas Cage is fantastic in this. I think that he really holds his ground in this, and not only making it very funny at times when he's referencing his previous roles that he's done, but also just some of the funny banter that he has with him and Pedro Pascal with their chemistry is very fantastic and very funny at times, and got me really rolling. And that's one of the things I really appreciate the most was the friendship aspect, because Pedro Pascal, he really steals a lot of the scene too in of himself in parts, and just like his obsession with Nicolas Cage is also just very fun to watch, especially when he's got all these funny memorabilia of him, like his wax figure from Face Off, and just there's also there's also points where Nicolas Cage has like a younger version of himself that he's imagining with, and they actually de-age Nicolas Cage's face de-ages his face, and I thought it looked pretty spot on, despite it very noticeably not really rendered too much at times, but I thought it was still funny to see him pretty much played out, because in a comedy I still think it worked in that kind of not too serious, uncanny valley kind of thing, so to speak. And I thought the rest of the way the movie plays out too is very fun, with how it essentially is a love letter to Nicolas Cage's roles in movies and everything, especially with they even make reference to some of his more lesser known films, like movies like that one where he played that I forgot. It was that one where I think he played the French, where he was like a French, where he had like a French accent. I forget the name of it, but I think that's the one they reference in the film. And then there was also some funny references here and there, like that they actually kind of make fun of, especially when they bring up. There was one instance where they even make fun of the Wicker Man at one point, so I thought that was pretty funny. And so the movie just has so much nostalgia that I can think of how much they really see Nicolas Cage essentially trying to be like himself. And also when it comes to things where Nicolas Cage is having to essentially do things in the action department. And while I will get to a little bit of my con on that, I still think it really worked with the charm of the movie, and it worked in a very. The movie does have a really fun, fast pace that I really found myself really appreciating a lot. And also, I will admit, there's also a couple times where the movie does kind of get a little bit intense to where it almost becomes very downright. It does get downright serious a couple times that did feel that kind of tension at points. I won't go into detail, but it was actually very surprising in a comedy like this. And then to get now, if I'm gonna have anything that kind of just has some minor cons, I'll say that the movie does have some action sequences that are not the best looking, and they're not really that well crafted for the way it's played out, because it does seem like they were on a more lower budget for this kind of movie and stuff. But I can't really fault them with that, because it's just really one of those where from what they work with it's still serviceable with the way that it plays out with the comedy. And so yeah, when it does get into more of the third act, when it becomes more of an action film, it's not quite as good as the fun first two acts, with the way that it's blending in the friendship aspect and the whole reference and the whole Nicolas Cage extravaganza and everything. But I still thought it was still fun to watch, especially in the fact that, in context-wise, it serves as a good resolution with how it all plays together. And it does something pretty clever that I thought was fantastic with where it goes in the end of it. And so overall, I mean, there's really not much more I can say other than this was a really great time with the movie. And if anything, if I don't really have anywhere to put on my list toward the end of the year or anything, I might actually put this in one of my honorable mentions. I really thought this movie was quite a blast, and it definitely has a whole lot of heart to it. It's funny, and it's just everything that I really, really enjoy out of a Nicolas Cage film. So with that, I'm going to give the movie a low phenomenal grade on the Film Freaks meter. So for those of you who have also seen The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. And thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in my next review. I'll see you later.